Hello. It is time for a campaign update and town hall. Oops. Excuse me while I get myself situated. I'm not in my usual place. We had a power outage here in West Virginia because they don't put their power lines underground. So, because the company would have to spend money, I suppose. As I'm adjusting you, I got myself somewhere. Okay, so let me fix my hair. And it looks like everything's backwards, so. Anyway, I'm not at my usual place, but welcome. And I guess it seems to be a little hard to see me, but this is where I've put myself for today. So, hi. My name is Susan Maud Buchser-Lochocki, or Susan Buchser for short. I am a presidential candidate for the 2024 election in the USA. Oops. And I thought I had my camera set in a good way, but I guess not. There, maybe that's better. And maybe it's better if I come forward a little bit. Okay. So anyways, so I have not conceded the election because the election is fraudulent and manipulated. I am a U.S. citizen, and my state and my county did not count my vote. They didn't count it federally. They didn't count it locally. And this is unconstitutional. Absolutely. I am a U.S. citizen, and my vote needs to be counted. They gave me some crazy story that because I was unregistered, it was clear I didn't want to vote. But the whole registration process is set up so that usually when you vote for anything, if you're voting, a certain amount of the people have to vote in a certain way to have it official. And since we have a lot of people in the USA who, because of religious reasons or other reasons, don't vote, but they're citizens, so they count. Somebody devised this other way. And so now what they've done is, if you're not registered, and even if you're registered, your vote may not be counted depending on who the Secretary of State in every state wants to be elected president or elected governor or elected mayor or whatever the election is about. So they just don't count certain votes. And then they have, like, let's say that 100 people voted, but let's say that the government, so when it comes to elections, each state is in charge of the elections. And so let's say that they noticed that a lot of people wanted to go this way, but they want it to go this way. So then they just simply don't count votes and say, okay, only 50 people voted, not 100, only 50, and then my guy won. So this is how they're doing it. They have a lot of fake names on that registering to vote list, and then they can have people go in and vote for them, anyone, because these people don't exist, because they've made misspellings or given it wrong addresses, or they're foreigners. And so, you got people walking in the door, and it looks like people are voting and having a voice. But ultimately, we don't. The Attorney General and the governors usually have the voice. And this is unacceptable, and it needs to change. So I have a lawsuit pending with the Supreme Court. That's why I have not conceded, because registering to vote is exactly where the problem is. We should not have to register to vote. The Constitution says nothing should come between U.S. citizens, that's you and me, and our liberties and our freedoms. And one of our liberties is to vote and have it counted. It's not just to walk in the door and vote. It's to actually have it counted. That's the whole reason why the United States became a United State, became the United States, is because we were being taxed by England, but they were not representing our issues. And so we got tired of it, and our people had a revolution. We said, no more taxation without representation. Now, taxation is necessary for certain things that the country does. I know there are people out there who say that we don't need to be taxed at all. There are certain truths to that too, but the concept behind taxation is for general upkeep of the country, which we have seen our taxes not go to. Our taxes are going to other countries to pay for other things, and this is not acceptable. We pay for war, we pay for science, we pay for all sorts of things in other countries, but yet in our own country, we don't pay for roads, we don't pay for bridges, we don't pay for mothers to raise their children, and this is unacceptable. So it is time for a change in that. But right now we're talking about the right that we have to have our voices heard. We don't have a lot of opportunity to have our voices heard, but the one time is when we go to vote. And I'm a U.S. citizen. I voted on time. I'm late for a lot of things, but I did it. I was there on time. I had my passport. I had my driver's license. I showed them. They looked at my driver's license. They gave me the ballots to vote. So they recognized me as a voter. So I don't know who down the line decided they weren't going to count my vote, but somebody said, no, we're not. And the sad thing is that when I was there too, they didn't even look at my passport to see that I was a citizen. So, again, West Virginia, for all your complaining and saying, oh, we need IDs and stuff, you're the first ones to, when presented with an ID, don't even know what to do with it. So, IDs our country is in a mess. We don't know anything about IDs or how to use them. We're using them for all sorts of wrong purposes. And just in voting alone, even in states where they say, yeah, you got to present an ID, they don't know what to do with it once they're given it. So I don't know. It's too much. This is what happens when incest happens, And incest means, you have people who think they know a better way, but they've never experienced another way personally. So they don't know how it could work in another way. So they think they know, and they think they're doing something. What it is they're trying to look busy. So then they come up with these new things or whatever, and it looks good, Looks good. But to truly have an experience, you got to leave the country. You need to go someplace else, have an experience, and come back and bring that change. And the problem is our country, our government, I should say not our government, our people who are running the government, that's the Democrats and Republicans, they've kept and trapped U.S. citizens in the country, so they're so poor they can't get out, or that they can't take vacation because it's not supposed to, you're not supposed to take vacation, and you don't make enough money to get out to see Paris or, Japan or any place else. So this is a shame. It's a shame. It's the Democrats and Republicans again. They have done this to our people, and it's unacceptable. They need to be taken out. We do not need to have parties. Parties are unnecessary, and currently those two have stolen so much money from our government, from our taxes, from you and me, the general public. It's disgusting. So I highly recommend, if you're in a party right now, get out of it. We don't need parties. Not at all. Absolutely not. George Washington was not in a party. He also knew the bad things that could happen with political parties, and we have been living it for the last, 100 years at least. So anyway, long story short is we have problems, folks. We have election fraud in the biggest way. And what they do is they, by having this council or whatever it is, this board of elections, where, if they don't want a vote to be counted, they'll go to them and say, hey, we don't want this counted. Can you come up with a reason why? And then they do. And then it's not counted. And then, but anyway, so the real thing is to have a valid vote or a valid election. The people who are in whatever organization, so we're in the organization of the United States. So we are, but if we went by population, we would never have the appropriate amount of votes, and lots of elections would be found fraudulent and not valid because not enough people would vote. But the reason why people are not voting is because people are not voting because they know their voice is not being heard, so why bother? That's the main reason. Then they don't know all the facts or who's going to be best, so then they don't make a choice. That's another reason. But mostly it's because they know their voice doesn't matter, so then why bother? We have to change that attitude. But the real problem is, so if we went with the population of the United States, we definitely don't have enough adult citizens voting to even pass any election, probably, except for maybe a few. But, we just don't have the numbers to say that was a real decision by the people. So then they make this rule, you have to register to vote. So then they have a smaller group of population that is declaring, okay, we are the voters. The other people don't want to be voters, but we want to be voters. And this is wrong, because that's a voluntary thing if you do it that way. But now they're not counting votes because you're not registered, and that's where the problem lies. So, but then from the registered vote, which is a much smaller population than the overall population of the United States. So the overall population of the United States is, what is it? Over 330, 40, 50 million people. The population of registered voters might be 30 million. That's a big difference. So that's the sort of equation. A certain amount of 30 million, whoever is registered, then that is the calculation they work with as far as making elections valid. And, a certain amount of in each county have to show up to vote to make it valid too. So this is where we really get into the tricky part of everything. And it's unacceptable. So we have to go back to working with the population. We have to make the population eligible to vote. We have to give them that opportunity. And the way to do it is what I have in my lawsuit, which is 2 months before, you get a packet at home to your one address where you're going to vote. Each one of us, according to Social Security and the IRS, we have one main residence, and that's that one residence. That's where you vote. If you move and you don't update your information with the Social Security and all of that, then you will still be voting at your old address. So it makes sense if you want to vote in an upcoming election that you update your Social Security and IRS address so that packet will come to you at the right place where you're going to be living. Then you fill out the paperwork. Well, actually, then you open the envelope and you get all this information in the envelope about the vote, about what are the issues federally, what are the issues statewide, and what are the issues county and townwide. And it's going to be there. Now, there still might be political parties. These are like social clubs that get together and say, hey, we believe the same thing. And they're usually not affiliated with a religion, but sometimes they are. And so there will be little notes also in there that say that, the Republicans think this, or the Democrats think that, or the Freedom Party thinks this, or the Libertarian thinks that. Then you might have your senator advises this because of that, or your governor says this or that, or your mayor says this or that. So we get their advice. And then on TV and on the internet, there should be discussions about all sorts of things going on so that we really get the idea and the concept behind whatever we're voting on. Whether it's do we need to buy some new airplanes for the military, for the Air Force, or do we need to build a bridge in our local town or fix a pothole that's caused so many accidents, these sort of things, or if we need to vote on who's mayor, who's governor, and who's president. So then you'll get like a list of all sorts of people, and maybe there'll be like a couple of key important issues where it'll say this person says yes to this person says no to that, and so on and so forth, so that you can get a quick idea of who's who and who you might like and who you might not like. So anyways, then you have a month to just find out what you're voting on. And then you have another month to get your votes in. You can go down to your town hall or your courthouse and you sign a book that says I voted, and then you hand in your envelope into a box where there will be, it'll be indoors, safe and sound, and you put your envelope in with your votes. And then on election day, the boxes are open in every county, in every town, and they're counted by hand. It's paper and pen, no computers, nothing like that. Information will be on the internet. You can go to the different websites and get information for sure. The trick with going to websites is that whoever owns the website can look and see who's visiting. So they know that I've visited to look at this information. Or they know that I visited to look at this candidate, or they know that I've looked to see whatever. They can see that all in the background. That's hidden from public view. So maybe we need more transparency, and maybe it should be reversed. Maybe we should be able to see, like, this topic and this answer got 100 people looking at it. This one only got 2 people looking at it, so that we can also see what they're seeing, And it should not be on the government side so specific. They should not be able to see that it's me. That part needs to be hidden from the government side, actually, because that is also a telling thing about where people are thinking and how they have to then illegally manipulate the system. So our current way is to vote through computers. And this is why all these electronics and all the hidden information from behind leaves a trace of who's interested in what. And so they can manipulate things however they want. And they are doing that. And this is where the problem lies. That's why we got to move back to paper and pen. And that's why we got to give people an envelope with all the information in it. And then if they want to do more research online or watch TV or listen to radio stations and hear some more information, they can do that too. But but we have to give it in paper form so that the government doesn't know all the information, because that's dangerous, especially in the hands of the Democrats and Republicans, who are extremely power hungry. You know, they just, they're relentless. I want to show you a little bit of the flowers behind me. So, anyway, so this is the problem. Again, this is a new twist on how manipulation's going on, if anybody's listening. Like I can see when you visit my website, I can see who's visiting me, not who, but I can see where whoever is visiting me from. So if somebody is in Chicago, I can see that if they're visiting me at my website. If somebody's in California, I can see that. If they're in Florida, I can see that. And if they're in London, Switzerland, Hong Kong, China, Beijing even, I've seen. So, you know, I've also seen places in Africa that are looking at me. So, you know, I've had all sorts of people looking at my website. And so I know what I'm talking about. They're seeing it, and then they're manipulating it to how they want it. That's the Democrats and Republicans, the power, greedy, hungry politicians in both parties. The only two parties who have ever controlled our country for the last 150 years. I mean, they're still the ones that were there when Washington said, be careful of the parties. You know, he knew what he was talking about. And we've turned our backs. We're not listening to him. He knew exactly what was going on. I know exactly what's going on. And it's time to stop it. Parties do not run our country. People do. So, also, don't be afraid to pick a write-in candidate. Don't be afraid to pick somebody who's not a regular party member. It's a good thing. So the Green Party, for all their notoriety, they've never had any position of any importance, ever. None. One of the most important positions in government right now is in the election process, and that is to be the Secretary of State of every state. Those are the ones who are in charge of the elections. They have created whatever the mess is that we're living now. So if you want to run for that position, I highly recommend it. And if you're not a Democrat or Republican, I really highly recommend it. This really might be one time when finally somebody who's not a Democrat and Republican will get into office. But, you know, Green Party, Libertarians, Freedom Party, all the different, even the Tea Bag Party, whatever it was, they might get votes, but it's never enough to win. And they never are in Congress. They're never a governor or a mayor or anything. So it looks like we have more than two parties, but truthfully we don't. And that's the real thing. So I have a lawsuit pending with the Supreme Court. I hope they act on it soon. I'm letting them do what they're going to do. And I did my FEC filing finally. I was trying to figure out, should I not? And then I didn't. And then they gave me an email saying, hey, you're late with your FEC filing. So then I called up and I said, well, look, you know, I'm not really planning on running anymore for president anyways. And I said, you know, I don't know if I really, you know, I'm going to be closing down my presidential account soon. I'm just waiting for the Supreme Court. And they said, no, you still have to file and all of this, and file like I'm running for the next election, which I'm not really, but I just not close it down and not make me a closed official presidential candidate. I had to keep it open. So I did my filing. It looks like I'm running for office in 2028, but I'm not. I don't really plan on doing that. I need time for me because I'm tired. I've been working hard for you and me, and my voice is not being heard. So I have to go about things in a different way now. But I'm still leaving the door open for the presidency if the Supreme Court will do the filing. So if they will grant my petition. So that's what I'm waiting for. So that's my campaign update. I'm still a candidate for the 2024 presidential election because it's fraudulent and manipulated, and it needs to be disqualified, and we need to have a new election. So I'm still running for the 2024 election. Yeah. Then campaign update. So that's a campaign update. Yeah. And we had a power outage here in West Virginia, so it was a little tough last night, but managed through because I was, thank goodness, already well organized. And so I had power in everything that I needed power in. And then I came down to my Unitarian Universalist building today to hold my Unitarian Universalist online of Zurich, Switzerland, online service, which I did. And then I want to color eggs for some reason. I have this deep urge, and I've been told it's part of the Nowruz celebration. I know it's part of the Easter celebration, but there's lots of colors everywhere, so I kind of feel like doing it. And so I'm going to be doing that in a little while. I thought I'd be done by now, but yeah, they're just things that are taking time, that are needing more time than others. So that's my next step, campaign update, town hall. I don't know, do you have anything you want to talk about? I see somebody said thanks. You're welcome. You're welcome. Yeah, there were branches and trees in the road on my way here today, so I had to move them out of the way. When I left this morning, we didn't have power where I live, so maybe they get it turned on later. I don't know. Let's see what's going to happen. But yeah, so that's the general message, the general idea. News. What else? It's Earth Day this week and Arbor Day. So this is sort of my favorite week of the year. It's time to plant trees and pick up trash. And that's exactly what I'm doing. I was gone all last year, and my home where I'm living right now in West Virginia is a mess. And being an artist, I'd like to use these pieces of trash in my artwork, but I have to be around and I need to organize them. So I bought all the stuff to organize them yesterday. And so afterwards, I will be working on that today and certainly this week, and do some tree planting and some other things. So I'm very excited It's a great week. We got great weather coming, and that's about it. That's perfect. So I don't know. What else can I say? I need, so I guess we need election reform. That's on my to-do list. That's number one, because without a good election, we don't have anything. We don't really have a country. So we need to then do something else. We need a new election. That's something else. Then we need to take care of our mothers so that they can raise kids in a happy and stable home and give them the training they need and all the tools they need to do a good job. And children need dads too. So we need to take care of our dads as well. We are doing an extreme disservice with our current situation. And so we need that. Then education reform, 100%. We need to change high school into an apprenticeship school year, with the final year of the kids coming back together and being, they come back together and they learn about their rights. They learn about their country. It's a Constitution year where they learn about the Constitution, and at the end, then they dedicate themselves to the Constitution, and to the rights and liberties that we all share and enjoy. And they pledge their allegiance to the flag for the first time, because they're adults, and it's the time when they actually know what they're doing. When you say it as a child, you're just mimicking things. You don't know the meaning of the words. And for anyone who thinks that it's okay to force children to pledge allegiance to something they don't know anything about, that's just ridiculous. The whole Pledge of Allegiance anyways started as a gimmick to sell flags. And you know what? It worked. It was a sales ploy. So, at 18, you say the Pledge of Allegiance for the first time. Then we know you are in allegiance with the United States. There we go. So that is how it goes, folks. We are in a lot of ways, a lot of people, and even our government are not following the U.S. Constitution, which is the supreme law of the land. And this is a big problem. The other problem is according to the law of the land, all the people in government, when they're in government, cannot be arrested and cannot be tried for all sorts of things. So we have to change that. Even the president. If enough people say that the president is not moving forward in a good way, that we have a right to try that president. We have a right to try and get people out of Congress, even out of the Supreme Court. The country is run by us, the people, so we should have a right to do a lot of things. And one of the things that we desperately need to do is rewrite our Constitution. Because it's written in old American English that none of us understand. So we need to update that document and rededicate ourselves to our country and rededicate our states to the country and start moving forward as a country together again. United. It's in our name. Let's give the United States some integrity again. And on that note, I guess that's the end of my town hall and campaign update. So thank you for stopping by and watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. And if you're on YouTube, don't forget to like and subscribe to my YouTube channel so that whenever I post a new video, you are one of the first to get it, or you'll be informed. Okay. So thank you again. If you want to find out more about me and my lawsuit, I'm on Facebook, Twitter, or it's now X. I'm also on Instagram a little bit and YouTube a lot. My main places are Facebook and YouTube. So, I'm also on LinkedIn. Anyway, if you want to find out more about me too, I have a website, susan4usa.com. That's Susan, the number 4, USA.com. And don't forget, I don't get to see what you looked at. I don't think, or maybe there's even a way for that. But I can see if somebody's visiting my website and from where you're visiting. I don't get to see who's visiting, just where you're living. So, yeah, just to let you know, just to be fully transparent. Okay. I wish you a good Earth Day and Arbor Day. And don't forget to recycle, pick up trash, and plant some trees this week. Okay, thanks for stopping by.